It's 1:30. I'd like to call the meeting of the Traffic and Transportation Commission for May 19, 2025 to order. We'll go ahead and do roll call. Commissioner Varnell.
Here.
Commissioner Littlefield.
Here.
Commissioner Carnes.
Here.
Commissioner Hale.
Here, sir.
Commissioner Martinez.
Here.
Commissioner Wynn.
Here.
And Commissioner Cornett.
Here.
Thank you, ma'am. Let the record show that, that Commissioner George is not available today. Can I have a motion concerning the approval of the Traffic and Transportation Commission meeting minutes for April 21st, 2025, please?
Motion for approval.
From Vernell, motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wynn. Do you have any discussion about this? Okay, motion to approve by Commissioner Varnell, seconded by Commissioner Wynn. Votes, please.
I abstain.
Seven in favor, one abstained. Okay, motion passed. Reports from Traffic Service Division and Counselor's Office. Sir?
All right, you've got our monthly report before you. I will elaborate a little bit on the ASAP program at this point in time. This week, actually, weather permitting, we'll be adding another pair of speed cushions on Dittmer Road between Northwest 24th Place and Northwest 25th Street, and on Northwest 29th Street between Ann Arbor and Dittmer Road. And other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have on our standing monthly report.
Counselor, do you have anything, sir?
No items.
Thank you, sir. Okay, there are no items on the consent docket, so we'll move to items for individual consideration. Item 5A, Jason Perez, Superintendent, Deer Creek School District. The item is up on the screen. Sir, if I may have your name and address, and you'll have up to 5 minutes.
Yes, sir. My name is Jason Perez, Superintendent for Deer Creek Public Schools, 20701 North MacArthur Avenue.
Yes, sir. Is there anything you'd like to say?
Pretty simple request. We are opening our 6th elementary school in Deer Creek. This is Night Ridge Elementary, located off of Council, just south of 150th in the Paycom area. So kind of speaks to the traffic we are preparing to face. Tried to do our best to pull as much of that traffic off as possible onto our property, but we just putting a request in to be able to have a lighted school zone just to keep the kids safe and make everybody aware of the new school that's going to be there. It tends to take people about a decade to realize that that school is there. So.
All right, very good, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to speak on 5A? Okay, staff?
Okay, I'll just elaborate a little bit on this. When we contacted the district, we found out that this particular elementary school is at this time going to be taking students in pre-kindergarten through 4th grade. It'll be opening for the first time this August with an anticipated enrollment of about 500 students. The Oklahoma City Municipal Code authorizes the use of flashing school zone signals and signs under certain conditions and for certain types of schools. Specifically, 32170A, location of school signs, states that school zones shall be established only for public and private schools, kindergarten through grade 12, and that the regulatory signs delineating the limits of the school zone shall be placed. It says in advance of schools where the speed limit is 30 miles per hour or more. So this would be an applicable location for considering flashers. But in this particular part of the city, with the exception of Heritage Baptist Church, which is immediately to the south of this particular school, at this point in time, there's very limited development that's on the east side of Council Road. So the appropriate use of a school zone on an arterial road is to reduce traffic speed in areas where school-age pedestrians are likely to cross a street on their way to and from school. The practice of reducing speed limits at school crossings is especially important where a crossing guard is present. The ability for a crossing guard to interrupt the movement of a traffic stream moving at 25 miles per hour is inherently safer for all parties concerned than interrupting the flow of traffic traveling at higher speeds. So action on this item will be at the discretion of the commission. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have on the application.
The only question I have are times. Is that something that we add to this?
We work with the with school administration. So when this is approved, we'll go ahead and issue a service request to have the school zone flashers installed, and then we will work with the school district school district itself to establish the on and off times. Typically, we start our flashers about 30 minutes before, and then we'll run to about 15 minutes after. And that's pretty much standard practice for flasher operation.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have a motion concerning item 5A?
Motion for approval?
Motion to approve by Commissioner Barnell. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second
Commissioner
by,
Carnes.
where'd that come from?
Carnes.
Carnes. Second by Carnes. Okay, do we have any talk on item 5A? Okay, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Barnell, second by Commissioner Carnes, and votes please. Item has passed with all 8 in favor. All right, thank you very much, sir. We go on now to item 5B, Stacy Wyatt. Always stop control at South Cemetery Road and Southwest 44th Street. Sir, if I could have your name and address, you have up
Daniel
to 5
Wyatt.
minutes.
Daniel Wyatt,
Huh?
14213 Southwest 48th Street in Yukon. So Stacy's my wife. She's a teacher at the public school in Mustang, so she wasn't able to make it and sent me on her behalf. So related to this intersection, we've moved here in May of 21, and what feels like every week or every other week there's an accident at this location. I did read the report ahead of time that was published, and my neighbor is actually an Oklahoma City PD, and I reached out to him and said, hey, the report says there's only been 2 accidents. So got him talking. He went down and talked to one of the members at the traffic unit, and they were able to pull records that showed there was 29 incidences since 2022 to now. And now it's actually 30 because on Saturday there was another accident. And the neighbors can attest to that as they live right on the corner. I personally have been called 2 times, once from my sister and once from my daughter who's 16, that they were involved in an accident in this area. I mean, same intersection, same exact issue. So for me, you know, if any of you guys have kids or, you know, family members that have been in an accident, it's one of the worst phone calls you can ever receive. And I was reading in here, and I believe it said if there's 5 accidents in 12 months, you know, it would qualify under that, or 6 and 36 months. And so we now have had 500% times the required amount to at least make that a 4-way stop. Based on the traffic amount, I don't know if we can consider an actual signal light, but a stoplight at a minimum is what we would request. But
All right.
that's all for me.
All right,
Thank you.
very good, sir. Thank you. Okay, do we have anybody else that want to speak? Come on up, sir. Let me have your name and address, and you'll have up to 5 minutes.
Name's Danny Lyon. Live at 4501 South Cemetery Road. This intersection in question is directly in front of our house. We live right on the corner, and we hear every wreck that happens when we're sitting in our house watching TV. And some of them are horrendous. We've lived there since 1997, so we've seen the growth out there. The house, there's just so much growth in that area. And I have a concern about the amount of traffic. 9,500 cars a day travel down that highway. It's actually a highway, and I think it was converted over, I think it's Highway 73, and the city took it over. And it's Garth Brooks Boulevard exit south turns into Cemetery, so it's a main thoroughfare from Mustang, Miko, Union City, going through there to down Garth Brooks Boulevard to all the shopping and eating joints. But yeah, to go back to the concern on 9,500 cars, if we do a 4-way stop on 9,500 cars a day going down that highway, they had just built a brand new fire station down the road on 59th Street, and it passes by our house at least twice a day on emergency calls. That, if there's a 4-way stop put there, the emergency vehicles are going to get bottlenecked and they are not going to be able to get to their emergency. I mean, it's going to slow them down with the stop sign there. It's just the traffic is just horrendous coming down that road. And they are working on, I was going to say, and they're working on 152. We live on 44th because it's right between Yukon and Mustang Road. And they're working on 152 right now, highway, so they have it shut down. So they're rerouting the vehicles down Cemetery Road. Well, when that gets opened up, I'm afraid that the traffic is really going to start picking up. And recently, they just sold 67 acres directly across from us, and they're going to develop that. And there could be up to 100 houses put in that addition. And they had just sold that property. My buddy is a farmer. He takes care of the grass. He's done after this year because the developers putting in a lot of houses. So that's going to be in the near future. And then we have a school that is down 44th. You go a mile and a half to the east, and that bottlenecks at that school. So we got all that school traffic that comes down 44th also. So I just have a concern with four-way stop. I don't want to see 9,500 cars bottlenecking in front of our house. I'm afraid the rear-end collisions, the emergency, everything involved. Stoplight, take care of any future issues. And keep the traffic flowing, 9,500 cars a day flowing to Yukon down Garth Brooks Boulevard, to the shopping center. So that's my concern. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have anybody else that wants to speak on 5B? Nobody else? Okay. Staff, you have some input?
All right, you've got our comments before you. And as Mr. White had mentioned, after we published the agenda, we were contacted by the police department, and one of their officers had read through our staff report and realized that there was an inaccuracy in the information we'd received from PD. So I'm going to go ahead and correct that and read that into your report. So under the collision data listed at the very beginning of this particular staff report, in 2022, the number of reports we received showed there were 3 collisions in 2022, 2 of which were correctable using signalized traffic control. In 2023, the number was 7, of which 4 were correctable, and in 2024, there were 8 collisions, of which 6 were correctable. So in the 3-year period from 22 through 24, we have a total of 18 collisions, and of those, we have 12 that would be considered correctable using all-way stop control. When we evaluated this particular intersection for using all-way stop control, in your report, it indicated that it did not meet any of the criteria for considering all-way stop control. But since the receipt of the amended police department records, this particular intersection will meet warrant A, which is the crash experience warrant, which for an intersection with 4 approaches would need to have at least 5 or more crashes of a type considered correctable in a 12-month period or 6 in a 36-month period. And in 2024 alone, there were 6 crashes which would be considered correctable using stop control. So for that reason, this particular intersection would meet one of the 5 MUTCD warrants for considering stop control. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, and action on the item will be at the discretion of the commission.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have a motion concerning item 5B?
I'll make the motion, but I'd like to make a comment real quickly. I also followed up on that information this weekend and found it needed some additional research. And I talked to the Fire Station 38, which is the new one out there, and they told me this morning since over the last month there has been 3 crashes at that location. So I will make a motion to approve that.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Cornett. Any discussion? The only thing I have is about traffic signals. If you notice on the map, it says that there's already one that's been approved just to the north. So we would have to receive a request for a traffic signal, and then it would go through the same process. And then if it is approved and it's the same issue here, there's no funding. We don't have a funding source. It goes to the staff. They try to get it into a bond, that kind of thing. That's where your city council person gets involved. And, you know, that's where you make calls to them and say, hey, we need your help to try to get this moved up. Because there's a list, if you look at our staff report, that's where the list is of the current approved traffic signals. And of course, every council person wants to have their ward be at the top of the list. And so that's the thing about traffic signals is we can do something with the four-way stop now, but a signal is something. Now, if you want to talk, you need to come up here, please. Thank you.
If indeed you do put the four-way stop in, will there be a flashing yellow light above that or some type of caution sign? With that amount of cars coming in, I just don't want to see any rear-end collisions.
Right, when we do new all-way stop conditions, or especially adding a stop on Cemetery Road, we'll be placing advanced warning signs to indicate that there is a stop ahead.
Okay, because, 60 mile an hour, I'm afraid that, and the intersection does have a passing zone through it. So there's no two lines, it's a passing zone. We've got pictures of that. And I'll see pickups at any time of the day going 80 mile an hour through that intersection because it's a passing zone.
So would that,
He has a picture of that.
no, that's fine. So would that require a restriping of the road? Because you wouldn't want to have a passing zone at a stop sign? Or
Yeah, upon
you
the
can see it
approach or
right
stop
there.
sign, we can go ahead and stripe out several hundred feet to the north and south
That's a
on
good point.
Cemetery Road,
Yeah,
put in a
yeah,
solid
you can see
double
it in that
yellow.
picture, yeah.
And yeah, maybe that whole intersection needs some striping.
Because I don't even know that that's an intersection until they get up on it.
No, you're
I see
right. That's
the-
a good call.
point.
So the staff has it to,
And those
look at the
guardrails-
restriping.
Those guardrails need attention because they are trashed out. He's got a picture of the guardrails.
and the guardrails, okay?
Oh, yeah, it took no time to wipe out the guardrails.
I forgot
They're
to
just,
I forgot to show these, but these pictures are a couple years old, I think. These were the guardrails they put up because of the accidents, and we actually had one go off into the ditch. Both sides are completely destroyed already, and they were put up around 8 months ago.
All right, so the staff, if this gets approved, would talk about pre-warning to let people know, and we've seen some things where for a couple months, they may have some red flags or something, and so that's one thing. Second thing is look at restriping the road totally, but especially the no passing zone to make sure it's very clear you don't pass with a stop sign coming. And then the guardrails go to another place for
Street
city
department
maintenance,
will turn those in.
the street department. So those, okay, no, that's good. All right, anybody else have comments up here on, ma'am, did you
I was
have
going to say
something?
what you said.
Oh, okay, good. Anybody? Yes, sir.
I share some concern with the idea of putting stop signs up there with 9,500 vehicles, that there will be a substantial backup on that especially can be affecting the fire department. And even if we do move forward with trying to get signals there, it could be years before something like that goes in place. And so is there any kind of mitigation factor that we can go look at to try to do something different? And Stuart, I mean, I just don't know. I don't think a roundabout's like the option here, but at the same time, something to keep traffic flowing as best it can so that it doesn't back up for half a mile or a mile is probably going to be necessary.
Well, the only thing I would say is, as south there, there's a four-way stop. So traffic does, 9,500 cars do stop just a mile south. That would just slow everybody down and, but, okay, did you want to respond to that, sir?
No, I was about to say, because, anything along the lines of like a roundabout or anything else like that, it's going to require a fair amount of public investment. So there's not a, if keeping traffic moving on Cemetery Road was the priority, then probably not putting stop control in would be the way to go. However, in this particular location, it does have a crash history, which would suggest that for for public safety purposes, looking at something to control traffic would be needed. So.
Yeah, I can agree that definitely the safety aspect outweighs the traffic movement, 100% on this one. I'm worried about that secondary effect of additional safety issues because of trying to fix that first safety issue. But I don't know if there's a solve either, outside of a lot more money and a lot more investment in things.
Right.
I would hope that sometime after the signs, if this is approved, after the signs go up, that we could get some officers out there to take up any makeup time that they lost going through the four-way stop. Well, I mean, I can see that easily happening. I mean, here we got the stop sign, I'm running late, got to make up. So if we could follow through with some officer enforcement, I think that might be needed in this situation.
All right, any other talk on item 5B? Okay, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Carnes, seconded by Commissioner Cornett. Votes, please. Okay, item has passed with all 8 in favor. All right, thank you very much. We go on now to item 5C, Caleb Morgan, P.E., Johnson and Associates. A whole bunch of stuff that's up on the screen, so if you want to read it, there it is. Sir, name, address, 5 minutes, please.
Caleb Morgan, Johnson Associates, 1 East Sheridan Avenue. What you have before you is a restriping project to add parallel parking to the Midtown area. So we narrowed up the lanes to 11 feet and added parallel parking on each side. And so specifically is the ADA parking that is associated with that. This project was originally intended just to be a restriping project with limited funds, and then it kind of expanded because we had to meet certain lane width requirements to make 11 foot and then also put in the parking. We had to shift one curb a couple of feet. Unfortunately, the right-of-way is limited, so we had to squeeze a lot of this in here to make it work. There is also some requests in there for meeting parking around to the south of this area. This is at Walker Dewey between 10th and 13th Street. So down on 9th Street and Hudson, we're also requesting the parking to be regulated similar to that area with two-hour limited. So that's also in this application. And I believe staff also has some stuff on 13th Street with no parking. So I think some housekeeping items on that. That's the general idea of the project. Like I mentioned, it was intended to be limited in to mostly striping, but there was some work that had to be done with some curb movement. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Anybody else want to speak on 5C? Yes, ma'am. Sir. If I could have your name and address, you'll have up to 5 minutes.
Yes, sir. David McNeil, 1212 North Walker, 73103. I live on the street, on one of the streets that this gentleman was referring to. There's already an issue with pedestrians and customers that come and get their food, and they will park on the street. But they'll park on the street whenever a huge semi comes and does their deliveries. So if you're going north on 10th Street on Walker, and you're trying to go around and get into your parking spot, it's a huge inconvenience to have. I mean, it's already limited space, and he's talking about putting parking spots on these spaces, and all it's going to do is cause more chaos and more confusion for the people that live in that area. Because there's a lot of people that live on top of those restaurants and buildings, and they have to try to find their parking spots if it's not taken by customers or whatever. So just adding more parking, specifically on Walker and maybe Hudson and Dewey, I don't believe will cause any beneficial any benefit to the community that lives there. That's about all I had to say about the situation, but that's about it. Thank you for hearing me out, guys.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Oh, sir, sir? Oh, if you could fill out a form, do you have them, ma'am?
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
No, thank you very much. You can just do it right up here. Okay, anybody else wanted to speak on item 5C? Yes, sir, you want to come back up?
We appreciate that concern with residences. This application has been done in, as requested by several businesses in the area. And I think that there is a concern maybe with how things are unstructured now, and I think this will help with that. It says you can park in these specific locations. It does narrow things up and will likely make things slower. People will slow down more because the lanes are going to be narrower with parking adjacent to it. So from a pedestrian standpoint, I think that would help. From a resident in the area that will not use on-street parking most of the time, sometimes they can, but I understand there may be some concern about that, although this will help structure things more instead of it just being a free-for-all out there. Some of the lanes are wide out there. You can see some of these images, they're wide, so that encourages people to go faster, and so this will help slow all that down.
Is this right where Insomnia Cookie is? Is that one of the businesses?
Excuse me?
Insomnia Cookie? Isn't that right?
Yes, it's right next to that.
Yeah, that's a problem right there.
So there is a...
Because I go there a lot.
There's a center median right there that trucks tend to park in and deliver. And then there's a lane on each side. And I think in that particular area, we're not proposing any parking just right there, but to the north of there.
All right, anybody else? 5C. Okay, staff?
All right, you've got our comments before you. This is a rather exhaustive case. Mr. Morgan had mentioned that they were also requesting some parking time limit changes on like Northwest 9th Street. There were a few locations within in the actual request that are already regulated as 2-hour time limited parking, and for those reasons, we did not include those in the staff report because that particular control already exists. What you're being presented with today is a request that'll create a total of 5 reserved parking spaces for the physically disabled. There'll be 2 of them on Dewey Avenue, 3 on Walker Avenue. All the locations that are within the boundaries of this particular application, the applicant is asking for a 2-hour time-limited parking restriction to control them. There's one location that will be on Dewey Avenue, which as a result of the parking changes being sought, parking is currently allowed on it. This is going to be on the east side of Dewey from about Northwest 12th Street to an alley that's midway between Northwest 11th and Northwest 12th Street. A parking restriction is going to be needed there simply because at that particular location, the roadway will be too narrow to accommodate two-way traffic. And then finally, as a housekeeping item, the staff has added a request to replace, there's a series of unusual time of day and day of week specific parking controls that are along the north and south sides of 13th Street between Chartel and Hudson. And in order to keep traffic moving on 13th Street, we presented this as to convert those from certain time of day and certain day of week parking controls just to no parking anytime on both sides of 13th Street. Aside from that, you've got our comments before you. One thing that we do note is that the parking spaces, when constructed, will need to be in conformance with the public right-of-way accessibility guideline, which is known as PROAG, and that became effective was passed and became effective with the Department of Transportation in January of this year. And other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have on the application.
All right, thank you very much. Do you have a question of his information?
Caleb, and a comment.
Okay.
To the person that was commenting about concern about these on-street parking spaces, there's so many different purposes why they can be a benefit, and obviously there are downsides to them. But from my perspective, to throw 5 parking spaces for the physically disabled into this close proximity is a tremendous asset for our physically disabled community. So I support it for that reason. I'd like a little bit more clarity on the physically disabled spaces, according to ProRag, have to be 24 feet long
Right.
on a parallel parking space.
27 on a parallel.
Okay, and then the width is determined by the available right-of-way, is what we're reading here.
Right.
So what's the best case scenario in width that ProAg would like to see? What would be the absolute minimum width where anything less, it would not be possible to put that disabled space there?
So I suppose there is a little bit of debate and leeway in ProAg, depending on who interprets it. The best scenario is you have a adjacent 5-foot aisle laid by that they can unload into and get onto the sidewalk. And that's the way we design them everywhere around the parks and everything. Here, there isn't sufficient right-of-way to do that with the sidewalk, so it's basically curb, sidewalk, and then property line. So there's not enough right-of-way to do that. There is a allowance in ProAg that says if you're restriping parking and you're adding ADA, you can put the spots on the ends of the block so that they can kind of get around on the street side to the adjacent ramp. So there's an allowance for that. There's some back and forth on whether this is applicable for that. We've had several discussions with city staff, and we really appreciate Stewart's patience on this. I know this one's been a hassle, but and the ADA staff have reviewed this, and they've been okay with this submittal the way it is. So, I mean, this has to go through that approval anyway. So this body, is to prove the spaces themselves, and then we go through them to get approval for how it's designed and everything. So there are allowances, and as I understand it, how you apply those requirements, there's some leeway depending on the municipality. So as I understand it too, the staff currently has accepted this design, the public works staff. So. But like I mentioned, the best scenario would be the 5-foot adjacent aisle. Unfortunately, there's not space for that.
But these won't be less than 11 feet.
No, the width, no, they'll be 8 feet.
8 feet.
Yep, they'll be 8 feet by 27. So they have the length, because we can get the length, but the width, we don't have room for the additional width.
Because we're learning.
Excuse me?
We're learning.
Yep.
All right, anybody else have a question for the information? Okay, do we have a motion concerning item 5C?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve 5C by Commissioner Martinez. Do we have a second? Second. We have a second by Commissioner Hale. Any discussion up here?
I had a quick question, Caleb, on the, from 12th to 13th Street on Walker, where Common Places and the New Clarity, that section right there already has parking, and it seems like it has been restriped 15 times, and the physically disabled parking has been removed at some point. Like, it used to have spots, and now there aren't any spots along that.
Really?
And so is that going to be, I guess, is that going to be addressed as
That's a good question.
you all come through there?
We're restriping again, I guess.
Great.
So,
Well, it's kind of confusing as it is now.
so staff brought that to our attention, and they asked us to restripe it back to the way it was designed and approved. So that's what we're doing. I think there was maybe too many 8A spots in there at one point, and so I don't know, it's gone back and forth, but we're going to go back to including, I think, one along that stretch. So we'll have at least one, and the rest will be normal parking.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else on 5C? Okay, motion to approve by Commissioner Martinez, seconded by Commissioner Hale. Votes, please. Item has passed with all 8 in favor. All right, thank you very much. We go on now to item 6, comments from citizens. Do we have anybody here that wants to speak to us? Yes, sir. We already have your information, so come on up.
The last topic on my agenda is that there are, in my opinion, issues with delivery trucks in the area specifically, that on Walker, Hudson, Dewey, in that general area in Midtown, that whenever they deliver, they will block alleyways. And they'll sit there for 20, 30, sometimes 45 minutes to an hour. I will try to get them to possibly, hey, could you move? And I get the opposite answer that I was looking for, if you will. Is there any way that could possibly have like more no parking signs in areas that are not specifically for parking, if that's a possibility, specifically alleyways? Because I could be wrong, but I was under the assumption that you're not able to block an alleyway, so if there's any way, and I've even tried talking to the restaurant that gets delivered, and they say it's just the most convenient spot, but it's still inhibiting patrons and residents from getting to their parking spots. And so if there's any possible way to get more no parking signs, that would just be just a pro for my instance. That's all I had to say.
Very
Thanks so
good,
much for
thank
hearing me
you.
out, guys.
Okay, appreciate it. Anybody else? Okay, we go on now to item 7, reports and other items from traffic commissioners, et cetera. We're going to start with Commissioner Cornett this time. Yeah, that's right. I am not going to skip her.
I don't know what to do with my time.
It's all yours. We got all day.
Well, I've told a few people on this side, but obviously the slowdown on Western has gone through some ups and downs. The police department put out driver feedback signs, and when those were out, everybody, once they saw that they were going over the speed limit, you can see them go, oh no, and put on the brakes, and then it is a lot easier to get in and out of our neighborhood, which is wonderful. But it's also, whenever they took them away, it was apparent that those were what were helping to control the speed limit versus obviously the speed limit signs. And so I know I've been working with Stuart and figuring out when those are going to be a little bit more of a permanent fixture. And so the police put them back. They were gone for a few days and then they came back and they've been helpful again. So I just want to say thank you very much for doing that. Another thing I wanted to point out is one of the, and I've reached out to Stuart about this as well. He's like, what's happening here? What's coming? Was the actual speed study was done during a period whenever there was snow. School was canceled for 3 of the days of the speed study. So I just want to make sure that, like, as a group, as a department, we kind of look at that whenever there is inclement weather. Now that we have a longer frame for speed studies, that's probably going to be a problem more frequently, obviously not during the summer, but it's going to be something that we need to take a look at, or at least have guidelines around when we're tracking that information, so the information that we are being given is correct. Obviously, that's going to slow down the average speed on that street that was presented over time. So just kind of one of those things to keep on our radar. Get it? It's a joke.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Anything else, ma'am? All right. Go to Commissioner Barnell.
Thank you, Commissioner Cornett, for the update. That one still bothers me from last month. I have nothing else besides I'm going to go have a cookie now. If y'all want to join me, and I don't know where I'm going to park, but we'll figure it out.
I get at least as long as she had. There's a weird animal in Ward 2, and it's the south side of I-44 on Western Avenue. There's a eastbound off ramp that meets up there, and there is a strange little street which is the on-ramp eastbound also. And what I'm observing there is people are using both lanes to travel west, and I'm still seeing that yellow solid line dividing that stretch of road between Western Avenue and the entrance ramp. I don't know why people are doing that, but they're doing that. And the other thing that's happening is westbound traffic coming up, I think it's called I-44 Service Road. They're making left turns there. And there's a very clear, pretty still clear painted grid and a no left turn sign. I think things are getting faded. I think that there needs to be a little bit more signage there on the, getting on I-44 going eastbound. Maybe some signage that says two-way traffic, something. Because I don't know why it's happening so badly again, but it's worse than it ever was. So I wanted to mention that. And in my previous attendance here, I wasn't here last month, but I talked a little bit about, some ideas about what we could think about for addressing, making reverse angle parking work a little bit better. There were, I don't know if I commented about it at that meeting, but I'm observing physically disabled parking spaces, abuses at them. I'm observing in Ward 2 some ADA sidewalks that have barriers with plants, trees that are growing over them and obstructing them. So I'm working a little bit on trying to see how compliance can work there. How do we work with the Action Center on that? So I haven't followed up on any of it because I was busy last month. So the following month, I might have a little bit more information on those. I went a little longer.
All right, thank you very much. Go to Commissioner Carnes.
Yeah, I do have some stuff to share. As you guys are aware, we have a new city council person in Ward 3, and right before she took office, or shortly thereafter, all the stuff came up about the GO bond, and they're really deep into that. So she asked us that are on commissions and a few other people to put together teams of Eagle teams, is what we're calling them, to look at the projects on the GO bond, and also to look at areas in our area to see if there were things that weren't on there that should be on there. So between the 7 people on my team, we've spent a lot of time driving Ward 3, and we've come up with a whole lot of things that the city did have, and we've had some things that they did not have, and we've sent that on to the people that need to hear about it. And it's been a very big learning experience for all of us, and I'm not sure if it's ever been done in any other district or part of town, but it's very helpful and to get the people involved in your areas. So, thank you.
All right, go to Commissioner Hill.
Nothing today, sir.
Commissioner Martinez.
Nothing today.
Commissioner Wynn.
Nothing.
Commissioner George is not here. The only thing I have is out by Choctaw and I-40 that goes down to Lake Thunderbird. Our neighborhood was reporting in social media racing from 11 o'clock at night till 1 in the morning, mainly on I-40. That is the new 3-lane I-40 from 240 going towards the new turnpike. And at 11 o'clock at night, you can lay in bed and just hear the engines. And so I talked to the captain. He passed it on to Santa Fe, and I know Saturday night it was quiet. So I don't know what's been happening, but hopefully things are happening, and we just want to slow people down and not be out there in that. Because that's kind of scary. Once I was driving on I-40 going through the new part of town there on I-40 where it's 6 lanes, and I'll tell you, 20, 30 motorcycles came flying by, 90, 100 miles an hour, just bullets at like 10:30, 11 at night. And that's a little scary when you're doing 60 miles an hour. And so if you did anything, Captain, thank you very much. All right, so that's all I have. Captain, do you have anything besides the taskers we gave you? Oh, yes, Rob.
Something popped into my head. I'm trying to help the citizen back here. If there's delivery vehicles blocking alleyways, like oftentimes when I leave here, I go up to the Circle at 10th in Midtown, and I have been there when there's been practically like, a miniature semi-trailer stopped right in the middle of the road making deliveries there. Would that not be a 911 call if a delivery vehicle was blocking something like that?
Yeah, for sure. If there's a traffic hazard, we can tow traffic hazards. Many times officers will mediate, will go. People have to make their deliveries. The business, the commerce has to continue. And a lot of times we can coach a driver making a delivery into a safer position with his vehicle. So that's how I would answer that. We won't just tow every car that we find that way, but we will work with them. You're welcome to respond, but you have to step to the microphone, please.
Thank you.
I'm new. I've done it before where I've called the non-emergency line and it just doesn't seem like it got anything done. So then, and I didn't feel like something like that warranted a 911 call. But are you saying it does rise to the occasion that I can't, if something like that happens, I'm allowed to call 911?
I have a canned response for this question. I get this question a lot. A lot of people say, why should I call 911? It doesn't seem like an emergency. I will tell you, the same people that answer our non-emergency number are the same people that answer our 911 number. So if you call 911, don't feel bad. You're going to get a dispatcher just like you would if you called the non-emergency number. I will say, if you know what department or division you want to call, it really is better to not tie up our emergency response numbers with that. So if you wanted to call a specific division, you can find that online.
Okay.
Or an investigative unit. Definitely don't call 911 if you're looking for a detective.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And Chief, what was your name?
I'm Captain Paul Fredrickson.
Oh, sorry, Captain Paul.
Paul Fredrickson.
Fredrickson? Okay,
Yes, sir.
sorry. Thanks
It's
so
nice to
much.
meet you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
No, that's all right. Does that answer your question? Yeah. I would love to respond to the street racers thing. Look, our officers are taking this very seriously. We are conducting operations to impact it. Takes more and more officers. We need more and more officers. I could use twice as many motorcycles as I have. And yeah, they had a good operation this weekend that I think probably impacted your experience. So.
And then is there anything to report from previous times or anything that you have?
Well, Southwestern, is that what you're asking? Yeah, Southwestern has been an interest of mine over this last month. I can explain. So those driver feedback signs are very new. The police department invested a great deal of money in them, and I did not want them out over the weekend, just as a trial run. So we put them out, brought them back in, we've put them back out, we left them out over the weekend, we're growing, and they're still there. I think they have an effect, but we're going to study. We have radar devices that are studying when those signs are out and devices that are studying when those signs are not out. And so soon, we're going to bring in that information and make an assessment about it. And maybe we'll have some interesting, something to report to you next month. That'd be great. So that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, and then there's a couple, there's the request.
I have a request here, Southwest 44th and Cemetery Road for a four-way stop sign enforcement. When will that be in place?
We will service request that, and it could be up as early as the end of the week.
Great. Yeah, we'll be on it. And I-44 in Western, I'm not sure I understood. You want us to enforce I-44 in Western?
I think it needs marking upgrades.
Okay, marking first.
Marking upgrades would do it.
Okay, thank you.
It's there, but it's faded. The signs are faded. And it's missing signage that says two-way traffic. It could be really helpful.
Okay. All right, good. Counselor, any closing?
Yes, sir.
Staff, I do have one question for you. Usually we take June off. Do you have anything coming up in June that you think that we need to meet and have to work on so we keep things moving?
We don't have any pressing cases for June at this point.
So if
no.
everybody's okay, we'll go ahead and do our normal take June off because there's nothing pressing. That's when staff takes the majority of their leaves and everything, well, between now and our meeting, which is when they do all the work for our meeting. So if everybody's okay with that, okay, so if you could let the city clerk know so they can post that there's no meeting, so we're legal. Okay, thank you very much. All right, anybody else have anything for the Traffic Commission? Okay, I just looked at the radar and it looked like it was okay, so it looks like we're safe to go on home. All right, we're adjourned. That's only